All right, everyone, welcome back to part three of what is ABA. So far, we've learned on what to do or what is ABA, how to obtain an ABA referral evaluation, and then we learned a little bit about how ABA is worked on, right? What is the science of ABA? We learned about the A, the B, and the C, what happens before the behavior, which is our antecedent, what does the behavior look like, and what happens after the behavior, and a little bit about the different functions of behavior, right? Now that we have learned, and if you haven't watched our videos, parts 1 and 2, I suggest you go back and see them to be able to understand this last part 3 section. But now that we've learned about the A, the B, and the C and the functions, now we're going to start talking about how can I get rid of the behavior that I don't want to see? How does my BCBA replace the behavior? Well, the very first thing that we want to do is identify an easier behavior to engage in for our participant or for your family member. Let's say, for example, that your participant or your client or your family member likes to pull hair, right? Maybe we want to teach them how to do soft touches. What if your participant is doing something because they want access? They want the things that they want, but they can't communicate that. Then maybe a replacement behavior should be teaching them how to get access or how to tell us what they need in an easier way. This could be done by picture exchange, vocalizing certain sounds, tapping someone maybe, and then exchanging a picture, guiding them to where you want them to, or what item they want to. But it just depends on the function of the behavior, right? We just want to make sure that whenever we teach a replacement behavior, it has to be easy to do. It's already something that the child can do or something that can be easily teachable. And it meets the same function. The same function. You can't teach someone to gain attention if they want to escape a task. The functions are not the same. You can't teach someone to ask for something if what they want to do is get rid of something, right? So creating a replacement behavior that meets the same function is very, very important. Now, of course, I'm the expert. We've gone to school with this, so it's a little bit complicated. Please take the time to research replacement behaviors and what this concept really entails, right? But the main component is that first you analyze the why. Why is it happening? What does the behavior look like? What happens immediately after the behavior? And if you catch yourself reinforcing that behavior, then stop reinforcing and start reinforcing these replacement behaviors. The replacement behavior is the behavior that's going to take over the behavior that we want to get rid of. So in order to get rid of a behavior we don't want, we have to teach them a new way to get the need met in a more functional way, whether that's communicating or having them engage in a different type of behavior, right? But it has to meet the same need. It has to be easier to do. And the whole component, the whole concept is getting rid of the behavior that we don't want and teaching them how to do this behavior instead, this replacement behavior. Now, as we continue talking about replacement behavior, we want to focus on what is the problem with punishment procedures. Why do we tell our parents don't use punishment procedures? Well, let me ask you this question. When you implement a punishment as a parent, first of all, we're not telling you what to do as a parent, that's your right. But what we're saying is a lot of the times it's out of frustration, it's out of anger, it's out of feeling like we don't have control over our child or maybe their behavior, right? So when we're talking about punishment procedures, ask yourself, what are you really trying to teach your child? Punishment procedures do not teach the desired or new behavior. It doesn't tell them what they should do, right? And punishment relies on the behavior that we don't want to see to occur instead of preventing an episode. It doesn't allow the opportunity to reinforce good behavior either because the bad behavior happened and now we're screaming at them or putting them time out or whatever it might be because they engage in something that we don't want to see. But do we ever tell them what they should do instead? Do you ever tell them why they can't do that certain behavior if they have the skills to understand? Right? Behavior reduction is only temporary when you implement punishment procedures because they're done out of fear. The behavior is going to return in a new form and even may increase in intensity. Again, punishment procedures do not provide either a positive interaction between the person who's implementing the punishment or the child or the learner. Plus, punishment procedures are not allowed to be used by your teachers or the schools or even your technicians that provide ABA services, right? So if we want to provide an effective treatment, we have to think about strategies that are effective across everyone, that everyone can implement. That's why it's important to come up with strategies and consequences that is going to create a positive outcome, that is going to create that trust and that foundation with the therapists, the technicians, and the families. And that's why we say these are the problems with why punishment procedures typically don't work. So what do I do instead then, Ms. Liz? What do I do instead of punishing? Well, let's go back to the principles that we just learned. Why is the behavior happening? Can you create a replacement behavior that meets the same function, right? Let's create a behavior intervention plan with your technicians that provide ABA services or a BCBA or a professional that can guide you. Use antecedent strategies. If you know that a behavior happens for certain reasons, try to change your environment to maybe minimize the impact of that behavior from happening. Maybe your child is really scared of loud noises or bright lights. Can we lower the volume? Can we give them sunglasses? Maybe we know that when they see the iPad, they're always going to have a behavior when I take it away. So then put it in a way where they can't see it, right? Or work on letting them know, hey, you got 10 more minutes on the iPad and then we're going to put it away. But we have to come up with strategies that we can utilize to maybe minimize the occurrence of the behavior or the impact. We also want to be very mindful of always reinforcement those replacement behaviors. If you're trying to get rid of someone hitting you, your child hitting you because they want access to it, then we want to make sure that he doesn't get access to the item if he's hitting, but he can have access to the item when he's asking for it, or when he's tapping you for attention instead of hitting you. So essentially what we're doing is we're no longer reinforcing those behaviors we want to get rid of, but we are providing reinforcement and praise and positive things for the things that we do want to see. Going back to an example for attention. If your child is hitting you because they want your attention, then that lets us know that maybe we're not providing enough attention before attention is removed, right? Or my child has learned that the only time I give them attention is when they engage in these bad behaviors, or not, I don't like to say bad behaviors, but it's behaviors of concern, right? Behaviors of like aggressing or yelling or hitting their brother. A lot of the times as parents, when our child is quiet, we tend to leave them alone. But when they start hitting their siblings or screaming, then we're like, hey, stop doing that. And guess what we just did? We provided that negative attention. We're reinforcing that behavior, right? So what we want to learn, if your behavior is for attention, make sure you provide attention for when they are quiet, for when they are doing things, even if it's a simple, wow, I love how you're sitting so nicely. I love how you're playing with your brother. And give that attention in positive ways. We also want to make sure that if you do have ABA, you respectfully communicate your concerns, whether that's in the school district or with your team, or even with your doctors, right? And if there's something that you don't understand, that you seek understanding, ask the questions, be involved, participate, tell them to teach you. Because at the end of the day, you are your child's best advocate. You know them best. We're just the professionals in the home that come with these strategies, but it's your job or your choice whether you implement them. And the final one is consistency is key, right? We want to make sure that we're consistent as parents. A lot of the times there's a difference in something that way that mom does it than dad does it, or maybe grandpa and grandma don't do this, but mom and dad do. Maybe the technicians and the staff that work with him do, but the parents don't. So we want to make sure that there's consistency, because when there's consistency, there's faster behavioral change and the more improvement you're going to see. Now, here I have an example of what are different ways to say no. Because for some reason, when our 4 or 5 year olds are told no, it seems like they're being telling them no for everything in the world, right? But what the concept is that we're saying is, instead of telling them all the things that they shouldn't be doing, tell them why they shouldn't be doing them, or tell them more specific ways. For example, instead of saying stop hitting, you can say, hey, please keep your hands to yourself. Or instead of saying don't say that, you can say, can you please choose your words another way, or please choose another word to say, like stop bothering me. Instead of saying quit whining and crying, you can say, hey, can you please use your words if they have vocal language? And instead of saying I can't hear you, maybe you can say, hey, can you please speak louder or more clearly so that I can understand? Again, if your child has these vocal communication skills. Now, again, it's important to always keep in mind that all programmings in ABA are always going to be based on your child's needs. Whether they have verbal or nonverbal communication, we always plan around their developmental skills and what they are able to do. So again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share this information with you. And I hope you learned about something about what is ABA and behavioral change. Thank you.